All right, let's just jump right into one of the biggest puzzles in all of history. For thousands of years, we've looked at the Great Pyramid of Giza as this ultimate symbol of what humans can achieve. But what if it's a symbol of something totally different? This thing is an absolute masterpiece of engineering, and even today, it's got our smartest people just stumped. To really wrap your head around the sheer scale of this thing, just look at that number. 2.3 million. That's how many massive stone blocks they think were used to build it. We're talking millions of stones, and some of them weigh as much as a modern train engine. It's just mind-blowing. And right here, this is where the mystery gets really interesting. The story we've all heard in school, right, is that they did all this with simple copper chisels, wooden sleds, and a whole lot of human muscle. But just think about that for a second. Does that really add up? Could you really build something so massive and so perfect with just brute force and basic tools? It just seems kind of off. So this brings us to the real heart of the issue. You've got the official story on one side, the one that's in all the history books, and then on the other side, you've got this growing pile of weird anomalies that the official story just can't explain. Yeah, look at these two competing ideas. The traditional view says it was all about the blood, sweat, and tears of thousands of workers dragging these huge rocks. But then you've got the evidence on the ground, stuff we can physically see and measure that seems to be screaming about something else entirely. Maybe a forgotten, way more advanced kind of science. So let's just grab a couple of these anomalies. First up, the precision. The huge granite blocks deep inside the king's chamber, they're cut and fitted with an accuracy that would be a challenge for us today, even with laser cutting tools. And then there's this newly found hidden chamber that's apparently giving off a constant, low-frequency hum. What is that? And that's really the bottom line here. It's like the pyramid itself is telling a completely different story than the one we're reading in our books. The physical proof is right there, and it challenges pretty much everything we thought we knew about the ancient world. Okay, so this huge gap forces us to ask a totally new question. Let's forget about how it was built for a second and ask why. We've always been told it was a tomb for a pharaoh, but what if that was never its real purpose? What if it was actually a machine? Now, to even entertain that idea, we have to talk about something called piezoelectric properties. It's a real scientific thing. Basically, certain materials, like the quartz crystals inside granite, can generate an electric charge when you put them under immense pressure. So, what are the pyramid's most important inner chambers lined with? Yep, tons and tons of granite. And this leads us to this really wild idea from the source material, that the Great Pyramid was never a tomb. It was built to be a massive power plant, a machine designed to tap into the natural vibrations and energies of the Earth itself, and then convert all that pressure into some kind of usable energy. Okay, but hold on. If the pyramid was some kind of advanced machine, that brings us right back to the construction. Who on Earth could have designed and built something like that? And this is where the theory takes a sharp turn into some fascinating territory. It's proposing not just a lost science, but maybe some, let's say, unconventional architects. Which, of course, brings us back to the biggest problem of all. How do you move those stones that weigh tons and tons? If you're not using ropes and ramps, then what? See, if you're building a super sophisticated power plant, you probably aren't using primitive tools. The answer, this theory says, is in a lost science. It's a concept called acoustic levitation. The idea is that you can use very specific sound waves and frequencies to literally cancel out gravity, making heavy objects almost weightless, easy to move around. And look, this might sound like straight-up sci-fi, but it's a real phenomenon that we're experimenting with today. Could this be how they did it? Effortlessly floating these giant stones into place with sound? So the billion-dollar question is, who had this kind of tech? Well, the source material points in one very specific direction, a group known as the Anunnaki. Now, if you look at ancient Sumerian texts, they talk about these beings as gods who came down from the sky. But this theory, it suggests they weren't gods at all. They were an extraterrestrial civilization, the architects who brought this incredible science to Earth. So what does this all mean? If any of this is even remotely true, it doesn't just change the story of one single monument. It completely flips our entire understanding of ancient history and human civilization on its head. The conclusion here is pretty jarring. Our history books are missing some major chapters. There could be this whole chunk of our past, a time with advanced science and contact from beyond our world that's just been completely wiped from the official record we all learn. And that leaves us with this really powerful thought. We always think of history as this straight line, right? From primitive to advanced. But what if we've got it all wrong? What if our distant past holds the secrets to a science that, in some ways, was even more advanced than our own? And that's the final question we're left with, isn't it? If the Great Pyramid isn't a tomb, but a giant, ancient machine built with forgotten technology, then what other secrets, what other incredible lost sciences are still out there, just buried and waiting for us to find them again?